You're listening to Gospel Reign, where the truth, authority, and power of God's Word take center stage. Join Dr. Matt and Dr. Micah as they dive deep into the great doctrines of the Christian faith, explore how the gospel transforms our world today, and reflect on the stories that shape our walk with Christ. We hope you enjoy this week's episode of Gospel Reign.
Welcome back to the Gospel Reign podcast. It's good to be back in the seat, bro.
It is. It's good.
Little hiatus for you and the fam, able to go away and do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
On vacation and ride some roller coasters, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We had a big week, several days in the park riding roller coasters, and it's our favorite thing to do. And loved every minute of it. And
didn't get stuck on the tilt thing.
Man,
I was hoping to see this report.
No, we saw some other people not stuck on that one, but kind of stuck on a hill and whatever. But and I've seen since we got back something on Facebook. There was the very same weekend, right after we left, somebody was stuck on something.
Oh my word!
But not us.
That could have added to the flavor, to the lore of the trip.
It would have, but oh well. Didn't have that memory.
Yeah, but we're back in the booth, back in the seat, and what we want to do today, something you and I have actually been talking about for a while, in production, trying to think through artificial intelligence, AI, a lot of different ways to kind of tackle this subject. We've been reading, been researching, and we may end up doing multiple kind of iterations of this conversation.
Probably should.
But what's kicking today off is a new statement that came out with Lifeway Christian Resources, and it dropped in June of 2026. I saw it over the weekend, sent you a copy of it, and said, here, look at this. And it's called the Brentwood Statement on Artificial Intelligence and Christian Ministry. The reason why it's named that is because it was crafted in Brentwood, Tennessee, and so they just kind of put that in the title. But AI and Christian Ministry, so it piqued my interest, and man, it's helpful. It's got a lot of categories that you and I can lean into. But to kind of get us into why this statement, where this statement fits, kind of in SBC life and maybe evangelical life at large, is in our own tribe in New Orleans in 2023 at the New Orleans annual meeting. They actually drafted a resolution on artificial intelligence, and that was really helpful. But this resolution in 23 pointed back to a 2019 statement that was produced by the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, entitled Artificial Intelligence and Evangelical Statement of Principles. And so I think going all the way back to 2019, we see some of the heavy lifting in the Brentwood statement. And I mean, 2019, that was 7 years ago, so a lot has happened in 7 years, right?
Considerable developments, at least in the popular culture with AI since 2019. So I was doing some looking earlier. 2019 was when that statement was drawn up. ChatGPT did not become a thing until 2022.
Wow.
So 3 years after that principal statement was made, then you have, and that's more popular, and then you have other AI type systems that have come along since ChatGPT. It kind of sort of sparked it culturally in a sort of more on a popular level. And then more have come along even over the last year or two. So
there's a bunch now, I guess.
Yeah, there are a lot of different kind of things. A lot of different platforms are using their own kind of AI bot or generative AI device or system, something like that. So it's progressively growing, and I think that's why the Brentwood statement, some of which you mentioned, is kind of repeated. I mean, they refer back to kind of the language in the New Orleans statement, and then back to the original statement. Some of the language is the same, but it's almost like, well, it continues to grow. We need to continue to say things about the use of that in Christian ministry.
And some of the concerns, and we'll talk about a couple of those concerns around AI, are the same, even going back to 2019, kind of looking forward. We've got some concerns. We don't really know what's fixing to happen with this thing now. 7 years, kind of looking back and what has happened and what we're able to do. And I mean, there's, as I understand it, right, there are some. You could have an AI in a closed system, like we could we could set it up in GBC and put all of our everything, documents, everything, and have it just in our own little system of things. That's not for the public; it's for private usage.
Right.
But we're talking about primarily the public-facing AI tools, and I asked you before the podcast because I don't really have a firm grasp, I don't think, on the different aspects of artificial intelligence. You already used one term, generative. Tell us a little bit about generative AI, and then I think you mentioned the second one as well.
Yeah, generative AI has been around a long time. We use generative AI. Now it's becoming more popular and it's growing and it's expanding in its abilities. But GPS is generative AI. Generative AI, basically it takes a prompt and it will plot things based on that prompt, which is basically what a GPS does. But now we use it to generate text or pictures or videos that are AI generated, but it's based on a prompting. So you put in, I want a picture of this, you describe it, and within 60 seconds, 2 minutes, a picture pops out, and it's a generated by artificial intelligence based on your prompts. Okay, so that's generative AI, and we use that in a lot of different ways and have for a long time.
So, like if you're in, for example, Google Maps, and you pull it up and say, find restaurants nearby, that's going to be a generative use of AI because it's going to take all the data from the maps and give you fast food and give you other stuff.
Yeah, and another term is kind of I think that's been used as narrow AI. Narrow AI has been something that's been around for a while, but it's something that will like you've got one of the most famous chess players in all the world that's been beaten now by an AI system.
Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, or him, or there was another name. Somebody, I can't remember the other name of the guy who was finally beaten by an AI bot, and that's kind of narrow. It's basically it's doing one thing. It's based on all the analytics, all the numbers, all the moves, all the potential possibilities, all that kind of stuff, and it's using that one thing to defeat the chess player. So it's very narrow, but it's the same type of thing. It's using analytics to reason based on what the player or the real player, the human player, is going to do. It reasons based on those things and all the numbers, and it can do that infinitely faster than a human being can.
For sure.
But anyway, so that's kind of a narrow usage of that. Nowadays, we're talking more in terms of what's called agentic AI. Agentic AI is the place where AI is becoming kind of air quotes autonomous, meaning it's not going to simply follow a checklist that you've given it. It's a system that can create its own checklist and then accomplish the checklist that it lays out for itself. In other words, it's built to be an agent. It's built to, which is what agentic means. It's an agent that can operate on its own. Now, that does not mean it can do everything or anything possible.
Right.
It still has certain prompts or things kind of built into its system, but it's much more autonomous. So now there are other terms used with AI. Superintelligence is another word that's used. Things like you go back many years ago now to the movie The Matrix, those kind of things. Those are kind of super intelligence type things where computers will become kind of almost all-knowing kind of thing, more on the lines of autonomous. There are other terms that have been used. So anyway, but the two we mainly are using right now is kind of the generative AI, which is popular use. I use it, if I go on and, create a paragraph that summarizes something, it generates it.
Yeah.
And then agentic AI, which has become much more common or is becoming more common in places like the medical field and other things where you have AI systems within the healthcare organization that can take information from a doctor and from nurses, from charts, digital information, audio information. It takes it all in, and based on that, it's able to, in a kind of an autonomous way, create its own charting and contact the pharmacy and analyze data, analyze X-rays, compare X-rays, determine what it sees in the X-ray. Is that a tumor? Is it not? So that it's doing so much without the eyes or ears of a doctor. It can do some. So it's really expanding into some other areas, and
I think for that reason, people have some fears about that.
Yes,
like even on a lesser scale, you and I were talking about, and some of these statements refer to this, is that AI might have this agentic kind of feel to it, but it is still erroneous and needs verification.
Correct.
So even in the medical field, I would not necessarily trust all of those things without a doctor reviewing and signing off on, because it may say, well, this is the medication, this is the dosage or whatever, and the doctor say, we could use that one, but some of the side effects are this, so let's go try this one instead. And I think that's one of the difficulties that the Brentwood statement and ERLC are saying, is that you can't just wholesale adopt this artificial intelligence without some responsibility.
Yeah, and those that are negative toward AI would point that out as a shortfall. Those that are pro AI would say, well, yeah, but doctors make mistakes all the time too. So yeah,
that's true.
So
that's true.
So proponents of that would say, well, mistakes like this have been made forever, whether it's a doctor, whether it's anything else, that humans are capable of making error.
That's true. And I think one of the critical pieces of these statements is highlighting the fact that there is no moral accountability to a machine. Yes, a human doctor makes mistakes, but there's accountability for that. If AI just says, we're going to give them this medicine and that they have a severe reaction and they die, what are you who are you holding accountable for that?
Accountability is a big
decision,
issue.
That moral decision. It is a medical decision, sure, and maybe in the algorithm, well, just X, Y, and Z, and that makes perfect sense. Spit it out. But then it has an adverse effect, and there's no accountability. I'm sorry, but that's what the machine said. So, wish it worked out better.
That's right.
And maybe that's an oversimplification, but I do think there's probably some concerns about that. It is interesting in this one. No, they don't say anything in the Brentwood statement, but the issue with the medical field, medicine, in the 2019 statement, they had an article directly related to medicine, and talking about some of the diagnostics and things like that.
Yeah, Article 4.
Article 4 in that, and I just highlighted kind of the last sentence, said, we reject the materialist and consequentialist worldview that understands medical applications of AI as a means of improving, changing, or completing human beings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of this, like you said, rejecting the consequentialist worldview. That in other words, that puts the decision making simply in the hands of a machine. It takes it out of the realm of morality because it's not itself a moral being, right? It cannot make those kind of decisions with a moral bias or moral impulse or immoral impulse in some sense. So, yeah, there's a lot though when you get into that, because the Brentwood statement makes some statements that I don't think have enough. I'm not speaking ill of it. It doesn't say enough. There's a lot of things that I have question marks on the Brentwood statement.
Sure.
I agree with the Brentwood statement. I don't know that it goes far enough. Now,
you mean it's just kind of descriptive, but it doesn't give us any prescriptive takeaways.
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
All right. So if you haven't seen, if our listeners have not seen the Brentwood statement, it's easy to find. Go to Lifeway Christian Resources, and you can online, and you can find it. But there's 7 principles that kind of guide our take on or a use of AI. Those principles, let me give them to you first, and then I'll give you that example, is pursue wisdom. Christian ministers should pursue wisdom. Number 2, champion God-given dignity. Number 3, promote truth and fidelity. Number 4, cultivate trust and integrity. Number 5, protect privacy, which is a really big issue when it comes to AI. Number 6, represent and proclaim the kingdom of God. Number 7, model faithful leadership.
Yeah.
Now, I would say whether AI is the conversation or not, all of those things are always true.
All those things are great.
Whether AI is part of the conversation or not, or whether AI is the thing that prompts these things, all of these things are to be
Or it's
true.
like AI is it provides the opportunity to do exactly the opposite of those things.
Yes.
You know?
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So what the statement does is take each one of those 7 principles and give some language to that. Here's what that means. Here's what it means to pursue wisdom. Okay. All that being said, I think there's some good things in here, but I would say there's a lot more to be said or questions that need answering. So let me give you my example. The number 1 example for me. It says in the statement, it makes this, and I wish I could find exactly where it says it. I think it's actually in the preamble, but I didn't underline it. But it says this: technology is not morally neutral.
Right. Yeah.
I have a really big question mark.
That's in the descriptor of number 1.
Technology is not morally neutral. I have questions about that.
Yeah, because the ERLC statement says the same thing.
Yeah, it's not morally neutral.
It's not morally neutral.
I got to thinking about that. Now, so I did some reading, some research. I go back to the 4th century BC. Okay, long before computer technology, AI technology. Plato said that technology is morally neutral.
That's what he said.
Yes, and can be used for good or bad. In other words, it's the agent using the technology that is not morally neutral. We are not morally neutral. But he said the technology is morally neutral. Well, the Brentwood statement says technology now is not morally neutral. So we would not, the Brentwood statement does not agree with Plato. Well, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with Plato. My question is around the moral neutrality of AI. It's very difficult for me to untangle that because when you substitute, when you go beyond AI and substitute that for any kind of technology, okay, let me just use an example, a screwdriver. A screwdriver is a piece of technology. It was invented at some point by a craftsman, somebody who said this will meet a need, right, to be able to, well, you have a screw. Now you have to kind of create the screw at the same time. I need a driver to be able to unscrew that or screw that in. That screwdriver sitting on the table, is that morally neutral or not? Well, if you take that application of what is said in the Brentwood statement and apply it to that screwdriver, now you have to say that screwdriver is not morally neutral. Well, it's a screwdriver. It's not going to do anything until you pick it up.
Pick it up and go break into a car with it.
Yeah,
or something,
So it's neutral sitting on the table.
I wonder if they meant to technology, the term you're seizing on there. I agree, but I wonder if they should have said, because I found what you're looking for. It's on page 2, the Pursue Wisdom. It says, while these tools are not morally neutral, the ways we use them matter. How I think they mean that is the creators of these tools are not morally neutral.
I totally agree with that. And technology, no matter what kind of technology it is a human means to accomplishing a purpose. And it is always created with some certain bias in some sense.
Right.
But I was thinking of this earlier too, and I was coming up with another example. The steel blade. Think about that. The steel blade can be used to shave your face. That's a good thing. But the guillotine was also created with a steel blade to cut the heads off of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good use. But the blade itself is neutral.
Mm.
The one using it is not neutral. So, okay, take that and apply that to AI. Is the ability of a computer to function, to generate information, this kind of thing, is it morally neutral? I struggle with that.
Well,
to be honest
computer,
with
I
you,
would say yes. But if we're talking about artificial intelligence that's been encoded with some kind of intelligence, then it by default has to have whatever creator's bias in the algorithm. Even if their best attempts to not, like the computer running the AI program, morally neutral. But the AI as a tool, as an instrument, it's doing more by default. It's doing more if it's agentic or something like that than just processing data, which it is.
Yeah, and I think there's where it's hard for me to untangle. Is that if it's an AI bot designed to simply beat a chess player, is that morally neutral? To me, that sounds very neutral. An agentic AI system is clearly encoded with bias to read things a certain way. To me, I can understand how that would not be morally neutral. So I'm just saying the Brentwood statement is good, but I think there's some questions that I still haven't answered for myself yet. I'm grappling with. I've done a lot of research. I've looked at a bunch of different articles and some books on AI. Matter of fact, I've got one with me. It's a book that I just ordered and got in a couple of weeks ago. It's called The Age of AI, written by Jason Thacker. But this was written in 2020, before some of the more popular generative AI things have come along, like ChatGPT and others. It was written right before that, just a couple of years. It's still a really good book.
I think Jason was probably one of the framers. He was at the ERLC in 2019, one of the framers, and I know he was the framer of
the Brentwood statement.
The Brentwood statement.
Yeah, he's the one who wrote this
principled drafter.
So I like the book. I like what he did in 2020, and I'm learning a lot through this whole thing. But I've still got questions, and so I don't think the Brentwood statement was intended to answer everything. Clearly, it didn't. But it did kind of create some questions for me that I think are helpful to try to start answering for myself, and I don't yet have all. I agree,
but the trajectory of the Brentwood statement and the ERLC statement, I think in a helpful way, this was in the preamble, it says, robust Christian engagement on these issues will require us to push past simplistic understandings of these technologies. Agree. And secondly, push back on the widespread cultural values of efficiency and convenience at any cost. And I think what's undergirding the trajectory of the Brentwood statement is twofold. One, these technologies we have a stewardship over these technologies. Number one. For the kingdom of God and the glory of God.
Sure.
Secondly, human dignity is at stake. And I think if all we're about is efficiency and convenience, well, that is going to qualify in many ways how that affects, for good or for ill, a human subject. I mean, yes, we all want speed and preparation of things, but if we're talking about cutting out large segments of a workforce of real human beings because of efficiency and convenience, that may be amoral, but it may be a real moral question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. And some of that, I was thinking about this earlier too. I have a tendency to be old school. Okay, so I have to.
Me too.
I have to make sure I'm careful with that. Because I remember, we both live in the age that made the transition from typewriters to computers. Okay, I remember in 1994, 90. It may have been the fall of '93 or the spring of '94. I remember having a college class that was Intro to Computers, and we learned Windows. All right, Windows is brand new.
Brand new.
Brand new. I mean, you could minimize a window.
Yeah, you didn't have to get on it with a C prompt and
my goodness,
figure it out.
You got windows that can pop up. It's crazy, right? I remember learning that. Now, also remember in 8th grade taking typing on a typewriter. So it wasn't long from 8th grade to my first year of college where we go from typewriters to computers. So we lived in that age where we kind of make that transition.
Yeah.
I remember being in seminary and hearing the old guys talking about, well, I had to type my papers and my dissertation on a typewriter. That's they were old school, and they were kind of knocking the whole computer thing.
Right. Right.
You know, you don't really appreciate unless you did it on a typewriter. Well, I didn't have to do mine on a typewriter, I did it on my computer. So
I didn't go have to butcher my own cow either.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
see,
To get a meal.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, so I have to be careful. I can be old school, but I remember the old school guys doing that and me going, dude, stop whining about having to do it on a typewriter, and I got to do it on a computer. So there are guys that are younger than me now going, stop whining about AI. I mean, it's going to be better. It's better. It's all things are better with AI, and I have a tendency to be old school. And I'm probably getting knocked by a lot of those guys, but I have to realize, I probably don't see things the way they do. But I still think with AI, there are some real dangers.
Well, you're pretty well in line with the Brentwood statement in the sense that they're calling for, we don't, that view, that statement you're saying is an uncritical acceptance of AI. And that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And then a total rejection of AI, also wrong-headed, because it's here, and now we have a stewardship over it.
That's right.
That we've got to understand what it is and how it helps or harms.
Agreed. And I think that's why the Brentwood statement does have the right approach to that. To say don't reject, don't fall off on either side of that. We do have a stewardship. One of the things that it says in the statement, which I really like, it talks about it's this idea of stewardship we were talking about. It says, I quote, "These tools shape our perception of God, of ourselves, and the world around us." And I think because of that highlights the fact that it's a stewardship, that we should treat it as a gospel-related stewardship, because the what is generated by AI that people deal with, read, interact with, encounter on a daily basis will shape, whether we know it or not and like it or not, our perceptions of each other, perceptions of ourselves, and ultimately of God.
Yeah.
And we need to be very careful with that.
Well, and you said it, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it's not, there's an assumption that AI knows everything. It doesn't.
No.
Only God is omniscient.
Yeah.
So if we're already erecting this created thing with the omniscience quotient, well, we're saying that it's God. It's not God.
No.
And, to how it affects our perception of human beings is the way that AI could be encoded with biases, could be overlooking minority groups, economic factors. So if you're doing like a search on something and you're trying to frame up a statement on whatever, without a context to it, it could actually be offensive to and overlooking certain segments of people. Yeah, and so it becomes a human dignity kind of issue. I also want to mention, I think the more I've read this and the more that I've kind of thought through the speed and the accessibility to information, that the number one, the first one out of the gate, pursue wisdom, is that wisdom is not just information, right? You can have knowledge of something and really be dumb as a brick.
Yeah,
actually.
that's right.
And wisdom takes time. Wisdom is from God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so if we think just because we have immediate access to information, that makes us wiser. That's where I think Christian ministers need to say, no, we need to pump the brakes on that, because it's not just about information, how fast you can get it. You have to process, and there is something more to wisdom than just data.
Yeah, and I think that one of the dangers, particularly for pastors and preachers, is that so much AI can generate so much when it comes to material, say for a sermon or a Bible study. Let me just use the example of a sermon. And I've said this multiple times to some folks lately, and I still agree. I still believe this, that some people can take what's generated by AI. If you can type in prompts, all kinds of prompts, very narrow limitations of a prompt, and AI will create a fantastic sermon.
It could.
Really well done. Great outline.
Yeah.
All packaged with appropriate illustrations and applications. I mean, you can get a 3,000-word sermon in a matter of 20 seconds. And here's the real danger: is that's not necessarily dangerous in itself. What can be dangerous and very hypocritical is that guys that are really gifted at oral communication, I think, will be able to get away with being a pastor on stage preaching AI-generated sermons for years and nobody ever know, because they will hide behind and be able to very well hide behind their giftedness and their charisma. If you're gifted in oral communication and have a lot of charisma, you can take those words produced by AI, spend about 10 minutes with it, prepare yourself, and then stand up in front of a group of people and preach it like you wrote it. And if
that's just filled with moral problems.
Yes, it is. And I think
filled with moral problems.
I think we may never know in the years to come. We may never know how many pastors have done that very thing, and are going to get away with it for decades in the future as it gets even better.
Those guys they'll be found out.
I really hope so, because I think it's going to. The temptation is that it's going to produce men not that are gifted in the study, but are more gifted in the communication.
Fair enough. And the Brentwood statement, because it is artificial intelligence and Christian ministry, when you go through those seven categories that you read off earlier, is it's not saying as much, but it's getting to that issue. So when we're talking about promoting truth and fidelity, that is taking an AI-generated sermon and just going off your charisma and passing it off as if you put in the hard work to study the text and do this other kind of stuff. That is neither truthful nor faithful. And cultivating trust and integrity, that you go for years preaching these AI-generated things, only for your congregation to later discover that you've been mailing it in. And the only reason we know that is because the IT team can, have the receipts on, and, all that stuff. And it will destroy trust and integrity.
Yeah, and where guys are going to fly under the radar, I'm afraid, in Christian ministry are going to be those that don't have an IT team, that don't have accountability that way, but they've just become very good at communicating, and they're just good at it. They're polished. They know how to speak. Yeah. They know how to carry themselves. They know how to convey. I mean, people have done it for years. They've done it plagiarizing somebody else's material.
Exactly.
And they got away with it for many years. Now you don't even have the fear of plagiarism when it comes to AI. It's generated. Right. It's not plagiarism.
Right.
And then now you don't have that worry. Now you can do the same thing you were doing when you were plagiarizing. It's just not anybody else's material now. It's anonymous material, but you just have to be good at communicating it.
You do. It's interesting to me because I used AI to critique AI, which I didn't know what it was going to do. So I was like, I'm reading these two documents. Give me some pitfalls for Christian ministry. And this was from Claude.ai. But it's fascinating how it took the Brentwood statement in the ERLC and this is kind of how it set it up. Like there's a responsible way and an irresponsible way to do this. So, for example, a Christian minister could use AI to brainstorm sermon structure, identify exegetical angles you may have missed, or produce a rough outline, then do the actual theological and homiletical work yourself. Interesting. Then it says, disclose AI assistance to your staff or elders when substantive drafting was involved. Thought that was very interesting. And then it said in a different section on misinformation and generating unverified content, use AI to help locate potential sources for a sermon or article, but verify every quotation, statistic, or attribution independently before using it. And that could probably apply to illustrations too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess illustrations could be generic, but if it's recognizable, you got to better make sure that it's, because I found this very interesting. Claude basically told on itself. You and I spoke a little bit about this.
I remember you saying
and
this.
I was kind of blown away.
Me too. It's kind of incredible.
So this is what Claude said about AI. Two different things. He said AI systems routinely hallucinate citations. I thought, what in the world?
Yeah, it's a big word used
Hallucinate
in AI conversations. Is hallucinating. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I've watched that happen before, where it kind of air quotes again, hallucination, is if generative AI can hallucinate and produce something that's not quite right. It's something that, like, I've done this before. I've asked it to generate me a picture of myself, like a cartoon type picture of myself holding a Bible and a cup of coffee and whatever. You do those things. Well, it generates this picture. It's perfect, except for it's got a third hand or arm coming up out of the center of the picture holding something else.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it got all of the things that I wanted it to,
3 arms,
but
right?
it's kind of weird. It hallucinated. It took the prompts and it created exactly what it thought you're getting at, but in so doing, it creates a hallucination that's not quite right. And as reading an article, I think I told you this, that it described hallucination something like this. It's like if I were to go to my friend and tell my friend who has never seen a horse to paint a horse on a canvas, and I'm going to describe it, but he's never seen it. So my friend paints a horse and kind of looks like a horse. I mean, it's got character, but the neck is way too short and the legs are way too long. It's kind of like it doesn't
tail's
quite,
like a little curly cue.
Yeah. So those would be kind of like hallucinations in an AI form. It's there, but there's issues with it.
Huge issues with it. And a second thing, Claude told me, a second search, it said AI systems routinely fabricate citations, misattribute quotations, and present plausible-sounding errors with complete confidence.
To fabricate citations. Okay, you had an experience with this.
I do. You and I, and preaching through Psalms this summer, and you gave me, I can't remember, it was Psalm 14. So I'd been working through the text. I had my outline, and I had a stack of commentaries that we use, Jim Hamilton, a handful of other ones. And I thought, I'm going to save a little bit of time. So I said, and I gave specifics: Jim Hamilton, the citation of the commentary, Gary Burge, whatever else. And I said, pull me quotes from this for this particular section. And it did. It generated quotes, page numbers, everything. I mean, it was quote. So I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. And I was like, man, that's really good. Set it aside. And I went back and I said, because I read the commentaries too. And I'm like, this doesn't really resonate with me. So I went back. I took quote for quote back to the original sources. None of them were present in any of them. And the AI had essentially fabricated a quote for Jim and for others, page number and everything. And I went to that very page. I mean, nothing the same.
Really?
And that kind of scared me a little bit because I got to thinking, so you're telling me some guys might be thinking, well, I know, Don Carson wrote a commentary on the Gospel of John and, pull quotes from Carson, do this, and uncritically just accept what AI produces to that plug and play. And, man, that is actually misrepresentation.
Wow. That's amazing.
And they call that hallucination, I guess.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Probably because I've never put in a prompt quite like that.
Specific like
but
that.
That's interesting that you had that. And that ought to be a warning to everybody that hears this is to you can't accept what it gives you at face value, because it could be that hallucination. It could be giving you something that's not even even close to being true.
That's right. And to Claude's credit, okay, Claude was basically saying,
you can't believe me.
Well,
you can't believe everything
me,
I say.
But I was just astounded by basically saying the minister is the one who's to do the hard work in the text. And I was like, dude, okay. Now, he was pulling from the Brentwood stuff and whatever. But I think this is so interesting because of integrity and trust and fidelity. That how does human dignity come up alongside of this? Well, some of the concerns, I think, from the ERLC and the Brentwood document, I don't think the ERLC knew what they were. I think they were trying to forecast something. Now we can see like a large church who's got some kind of online presence, right, live streaming their stuff or whatever, could use an AI chat bot for people that call in and basically work with someone to get information or whatever. And I think there's a way in which if the AI chat bot is simply saying our service times or whatever, if you want to speak to a pastor, blah, 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 push 1, if you want to do whatever, that's fine. But if you are surrendering discipleship or counseling or some kind of spiritual assessment of things to AI, all these documents are saying that's way outside of the bounds of what we should be using AI for in Christian ministry.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
No, I think that is helpful. I was looking at some stuff earlier. Barna Research Group did a survey, I think it was last year. It was a 2025 survey, I think, that they wrote on this article in the fall. And they had some statistics, which I thought were, as a matter of fact, I wrote a couple of them down. I forgot I did this. The poll showed 42% of U.S. adults say AI is concerning. 35% call it exciting. And 77% of pastors say God can use it. 77%. And I think that's true. I think God can use it. Sure. I think some churches, as I was reading, some churches have use AI now as a 24/7 FAQ generator. So, or not generator, but question answerer. So at any time, anybody can ask their, I guess, on their church website a question, and 24/7 it will generate answers for them without a staff member having to look at it. That's wow. AI. It's an AI usage, and I don't know how much is a surrendering of counsel, spiritual counsel, or if it's just answering where is parking lot D, that kind of thing.
Right.
If it's just factual, I don't know. I don't know if churches have surrendered any kind of spiritual counsel on their kind of AI platforms like that.
I wonder if it's a thing because it keeps popping up in some of these documents.
Well, it must be, because there's certain things that have warned against that kind of thing. I don't know that kind of stuff is out there because I don't use it. We don't use it at GBC. Right. Those kinds of things anyway. But there's all kinds of other uses of AI in Christian ministry, which I think can be helpful. And a lot of churches are using it when it comes to social media, generating content, or generating from a sermon. It generates a kind of a clip or something like that can be put on social media. All kinds of marketing things that normally you'd pay somebody a lot of money to do. Right. AI generates a lot of this now for churches. There's a lot of good uses, I think, for churches, but there's some things that are very questionable, and like you said, probably some things that are way out of bounds too, that these statements are warning churches about. It's out there, it's available. Yeah, just be very careful how we use it in Christian ministry.
I think to your point of being, you didn't say you were an old codger, but
I feel like it.
I feel to your point though, I don't know, because I'm with you in this, and I think at this point, I don't know that I could trust AI uncritically without verification. Yeah, I don't. It kind of depends. Like a lot of AI searches that you'll do are very good. And if you know something about the content, you'll walk through that and it's like, yeah, it's a little bit generic, but man, that's pretty good
Yeah.
for a 20-second spit out of information. But sometimes but that's because you're also an expert in the field.
Yeah.
You can ask it. And if someone's just getting on there and has questions about Christology, how do you know the sourcing is not coming from Jehovah's Witness material,
right.
Mormon material, evangelical, whatever, Islam? How do you know it's not pulling from those other things to give you this kind of hodgepodge kind of view of Christology? If you're not an expert in the field, how would you know to verify it?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. It's getting better. AI, what it generates is getting better, and the people out there that are experts on it are saying it continues to get better. It's expanding its capability. It's getting more accurate. It hallucinates less based on the prompts that you give it, those kind of things. It's getting better. That's a really good thing. But for somebody like me, I again, yes, I'm more of an old school kind of guy. I was reading an article a little while ago. This guy saying he's very pro AI in Christian ministry. He said it saves him hours a week using AI for pulling together material for sermon prep.
Mm-hmm.
He said I still do the study, but it's saving me now hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
All I used to do was pull this thing out and get that commentary and pull this resource and pull that in and have all these books open on my desk, and I got to do all that on my own, where AI can do it, all that work, at least initially for me. I can get all that in one place now on my screen instead of opening all these books, and then I still have to go to the desk and do the work. So somebody's pro AI looks at that and goes, dude, that's a huge time saver I'm in. Somebody like me goes, yeah, I'm not really sure if I should do that. I'm not really sure if that's hypocritical of me. And so I'm still trying to untangle some of that for myself. I use it very sparingly. Some of that's because I'm old-fashioned. Some of that's because I'm afraid of going too far with it and using it too much. Some of that is I probably don't know how to use it well, and so I probably don't know exactly what I could ask it for, and so I'm not good at it. My usage of it is very sparse, although when I do use it, it's extremely helpful. It has been for me.
I wonder if it's better if you give it a lot of specificity and limitation. If we were, for example, having a conversation about Colossians chapter 2, and we got a couple of verses, and we've got a little question mark over a Greek term. Like if you put it in AI and say, help us think through historically or whatever, exegetically, this term in New Testament Greek or whatever, it would probably spit out much more helpful information than just a general, tell me everything you know about Colossians 2.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's got a wider net that it's trying to draw from.
It's definitely a strange new world, right? We, back in the day, back before computers, back before the internet, I should say, the smartest, you had this thing where, okay, God is omniscient. The next best thing to that was the smartest dude you knew, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, now there's no human being in the world that knows what Google knows or what any search engine can pull up in the matter of seconds.
Right.
Nobody knows that stuff, all of that. So it is a strange new world, and we're to the point now where no human being is as smart as anybody's computer or just
phone.
Your phone. I mean, just what's in your hand. Nobody is that smart now. So it's an incredible tool. And the uses of that tool are only going to expand. We have no idea, probably in the next 15 years. Right. AI is our conversation right now, but in the next 15 years, it could be something totally different.
Well,
and it will be surrounding.
We don't have time to talk about biotech and how do you, with the things that Elon Musk is tinkering with and stuff. So yes, we don't know where it's going to go.
No.
But one of the takeaways from reading the Brentwood statement and a little bit of the ERLC is our church members, they're aware enough that AI is out there and bubbling, and the younger generation in particular is interested in, is there a biblical response to this, right?
Right.
Or do we have guardrails? How are we to view something like this, which seems to me to be profoundly helpful in just a whole host of things. You've mentioned a number of them. And so, I like this right here because I think the two phrases that jumped off the page to me, I think qualify this well. And this is in the section in the Brentwood statement on cultivating trust and integrity. It says, while these tools may be used at times with wisdom and to augment our original work, over-reliance on these tools, outsourcing of our work, or passing off the work of someone or something as our own is an abdication of a God-given responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I like that phrase, with wisdom and the augmenting of our work. If properly understood, that can be profoundly helpful.
Yeah, it can be.
Time saver.
Big time saver, yeah.
Thought provoker.
That's exactly right.
Whole host of things, but you've got to make it your own. And I do think there is probably a difference between the guy that you kind of profiled, the charismatic kind of guy, boom, gets it, and on his gifting alone can make it amazing. Yeah. I think there's a difference between that guy and a guy who's put in the work and he's at a mental block and he's like, man, I don't even know. I've got 2 points, but and kind of go out there and AI can help you massage that a little bit. It's like, that's exactly what I was looking for. But he's put in the work and it's augmented. Yeah. I think that can be helpful. But an over-reliance, that also kind of stuck out to me. Like if our first instinct is to go to AI and say, give me a sermon outline for, whatever. I'm not sure that's necessarily the right path.
Yeah, and I'm really curious. I'm really curious what our people think about this.
Yeah.
I really am. What?
Yeah.
In other words, okay, I have been tempted, but I've never done it. I don't know that I ever will do it. Okay, I have been tempted before to get one of these AI systems to generate a sermon for me. Outline, language, illustrations, applications, everything, and preach it, and see if anybody knew the difference. I have been.
I think they would know
if
you stuck to it. I think they'd know.
You think?
I think it's probably be so generic. I don't know.
Maybe
it'd be hard to not craft it in such a way that made sense to.
I have been tempted to do that, but not that I will do it. That's kind of a little a temptation of mine and the reason I say that is because I would really like to know what our people think about this. Do they care? Do church members care where you get it? Do they care that came from you, or do they care that came as long as you said the good stuff?
Yeah.
Who cares? I think about that. Do people really care? I care.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I care. But I don't know if our people that sit in church every Sunday really care.
Well, I had one of our church members, a guy you and I both love. He loves us, supports us. He's in everything. And he said to me after, I think it was a Wednesday night, I don't know what we had done, but he said the comment that if you want to, anytime you come to GBC, you're going to get a fresh message from the Lord. And I thought, praise God.
Yeah.
That's correct. Because and I think without putting words in his mouth, and he knows that there's been the heavy lifting of working through a text, praying through a text, thinking about GBC, and we're going to stand behind the pulpit and give them what we believe God has given us to give them. It would be an interesting exercise to generate an AI thing, do it, and then ask the congregation, what would your thoughts be to know that entire sermon was AI?
Yeah.
And would it matter?
I would be very puzzled. I don't know.
They'd probably be like,
I know, maybe.
Know,
I have questions about that. I don't know. But as I was thinking about it, ChatGPT, or things like that, what they are simulators.
Mm-hmm.
okay, that we call them generators, but they're simulating human reasoning. In other words, they are predicting simulation of human reasoning, predicting the next words in a sequence or pattern that would fit, using analytics, that would fit human communication patterns.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's doing. It's simulating human reasoning, communication. Does that count? Would that count as a sermon? I don't know. I don't think so. My impulse, again, I'm old school. My impulse is, no, that's not a sermon. Well, that's nothing but text on a page is what that is, and you're communicating it, you're speaking it, but that's not a sermon.
Right.
You didn't spend any time with God. You didn't get along with Him. He give you, whatever. But but again, to my point, I wonder if our church family, I believe they care about this. Yes, I do believe they care, and I believe they want a sermon, one that's been prayed over and worked over and labored over. They want that. My question is, would they be in tune enough to know the difference? Because I'm just be honest with you, somebody that's really good, I'm not saying I'm that guy, but somebody that's really good and charismatic and a great communicator, I think he could be pretty good at pawning it off as his own. And that's the scary thing.
I think if you just started doing that, I think people would notice. And the reason why I say that is, was it Phillips Brooks, who's famous for saying that preaching is truth through personality. And yes, I do think there is a pulpiteer version of that, but I think in the way that you study and you craft a sermon, your fingerprints, your personality as a preacher and as a believer and as an exegete, that's coming out in your preaching. So I think we've gotten accustomed to a sermon from Matt Brown because we kind of know how you're approaching the text.
Right.
But if we just did an AI thing, it's not necessarily going to have that kind of DNA embedded. It might be a good outline. It might be amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But would it be? And to your point about the charismatic guy who could take something like that and embed his stuff, maybe so.
And I don't have. I will say this. I know we got to close, but you can't. There are guys out there who have thousands of their own sermons that are in print, and available on the internet. You can put in a prompt, give me a sermon in the style of that particular preacher, and it will analyze within seconds the preaching or the material that's been printed out there from that pastor, and then recreate a sermon on this particular text from his material. But it's not his quotes. It is generated, simulated in his style. That would be really interesting. Now, I don't have thousands of sermons in print on the internet. Now, I do have a lot of sermons in video form. I don't know that AI grabs that kind of audio.
I don't know. It's a good question.
And could do the same thing for Matt Brown's sermons. Maybe I ought to try. It may say, who is Matt Brown? That may be exactly.
And we
what
have a member of our church, and we've talked about a catalog of. It would be a closed system of put all the data in there, and it could generate something. Because I wonder about the economics behind this too, because you can get a free version of ChatGPT, a free version of Claude, a free version of Perplexity, but you could pay $60 for a pro package or $300 for, and then it gets even. I'm not really sure, but it does some finer refining. Like, okay, if you say, give me a sermon on Galatians 1 from Alistair Begg, and use the free version, it'll spit out something.
Yeah, it will.
But if you've got this pro package, that is it now taking more of his content, maybe going to video and. It's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that, but profit is probably there's probably an undercurrent of profit.
That's probably so.
To this as well.
Well, I'll tell you how ironic this is as we close. one of the statements that the Brentwood statement makes is AI is revolutionizing our world, including Christian ministry. I don't have answers to how it's revolutionizing Christian ministry. So I Googled that. How is AI revolutionizing Christian ministry? And what I came up with was an AI answer.
What'd it say?
It's very ironic. Well, it said a lot of things, and I kind of went through it all, parsed through it all, but it's just hilarious that it dawned on me as I was reading the answer. It was the AI overview of the answer to that question. I thought that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm asking AI a question about AI, so it's kind of ironic. I laughed out loud at myself, like, here I am. Anyway, I thought it was funny.
I think younger generation, you and I are obviously not in this mode because we don't. I think there's a whole layer of people that are utilizing AI as a chat bot for conversations of things.
Yeah.
And I've heard recently, like somebody's spouse die, you've got their vocal recording that you can continue to interact with an AI version of your dead spouse in the voice of your dead spouse. Yeah. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on like that. But I wonder if the concern of the Brentwood statement and ERLC years ago was trying to say you cannot reduplicate discipleship, evangelism, accountability, pastoral care, whatever, with an AI-generated machine there, because it's not just about information. When you're sitting across a table from someone, you'll give them information, but there's more to ministry than just regurgitating, that a machine cannot do. That's correct. I think that's maybe one of the concerns.
Yeah.
About the statement.
Well, Brentwood's statement is really good.
Worth taking a look at.
I would encourage our folks to go take a look at it.
Yeah. All right. As we close today, we're going to do a segment we like to do in time. I don't think we've done this one in a while, but it's a segment called One More Thing, and it could be anything. One more thing?
One more thing?
Yeah.
Am I going first?
Sure. Go ahead.
Some people notice if they're watching, and they don't see this on Sunday, but if they're watching, I have this brace, a little doohickey on my hand. It's for arthritis, and it's kind of an immobilizer a little bit lately. I have arthritis in my thumb, at the base of my thumb. I got it a couple of years ago, started hurting. It comes with a lot of pain. I'm having surgery on it in the next few weeks, and hopefully this thing will be gone. And so all they're going to do is go in and they're going to cut out a portion of the bone in my thumb that has the arthritis. And the way he described it is he's going to suture my finger bone that goes all the way down into my hand, suture that bone to my thumb bone. Don't ask me how. Do that, and to hold it together, and then scar tissue kind of fill that gap that they've cut out. And he said the procedure's been around for 40 years or so, and it's been very successful for a lot of people. So I did not.
You gonna be able to give a thumbs up after this?
I don't know, man. I don't know. My thumb could be 2 inches shorter than it. It could be.
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you grow up popping this little knuckle right here?
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, I still do.
I still do.
Yeah, it's hard to do that one now. But
okay,
hurts.
So arthritis, it just hurts all the time.
A lot of pain. Yeah, most of the time. If I do anything, grip anything, whatever, sometimes it will hurt just sitting here. But try to grip anything, open anything, pinch something, grab whatever. Catch a ball with a glove now is. I grew up throwing a ball, baseball, and it just hurts like the dickens.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm going to have surgery in a couple of weeks, and that's my one more thing. Hopefully I'll get rid of this thing. I'll have another kind of thing on it for about 6-8 weeks or so.
And that's our prayer for you, too, to get rid of that pain. And
yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm just hoping it's successful, and I won't have that problem anymore.
Nice.
So that's what you do when you get older, dude. You just got issues like this, like arthritis. What? I'm not old enough to.
I don't know.
I am.
I'm wondering if I have arthritis in my knee.
You probably do.
Also in my right foot big toe, because sometimes it's the most searing pain, and I've done nothing to provoke it, and it's just like a hot iron being shoved through my big toe.
Yeah, you're getting old, dude, and it's just coming.
but I can't live without I guess I could live without my big toe. I couldn't walk with it.
You could.
Anyway.
Oh well. All right. You're one more thing.
One more thing. Okay, so a family thing.
Yep.
My oldest son Ben has been in nursing school and graduated, but you're not an official registered nurse until you pass this major test called an NCLEX, NCLEX, NCLEX. And he studied, man, just labored. You can fail it ever so many times. If you fail so many, you have to go back and take the whole degree again. Okay. So lots of pressure on this test. Well, he and his fiance took their NCLEX on the same day. Had very different experiences with that test. Ben's was shorter, Marley's was longer, twice as long as Ben's.
Really?
And so they both walked out thinking, I don't know, could probably failed. Well, they both passed first time on the test, which is incredible.
Congratulations.
And so they are officially registered nurses, RN, so they're making a little more money.
Congratulations,
and
man.
I didn't know this, but they wear different color scrubs as a registered nurse.
Okay, didn't know that.
And Ben was telling me that even, because I think as a student he was in green and now he's in blue, and he said the people automatically see me differently in blue scrubs. And the way he described it to me was they are more likely to entrust their care to me, even just on what I'm wearing. I said, "You serious?" He's like, "Yeah," but I didn't have that until I was an RN.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how cool is that, man?
So yeah.
Well, congratulations to Ben.
Yeah. Exciting.
Man.
Exciting. So yeah, we'll see. Would it be weird if your own child was your nurse?
Yeah, that'd be weird.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too. Let's pray it never comes to that.
With your arthritis.
And my big toe.
Be able to take care of you.
Because I think your family members can just suck it up, man. I don't think they're going to care for you.
Come on, Dad.
Big toe. Whatever, man. Come on.
Take some
I'll give you a Tylenol.
Yeah.
I'll give you a single Tylenol. That's right. You're exactly right.
Okay.
Well, we love y'all. Appreciate y'all listening to the Gospel Rain podcast. Catch us back next week. Next Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 a.m., I believe it's announced, coming out on all the, platforms, social media or whatever. Look for it. And also, we're always open to recommendations on episode topics. So hit us up on Facebook or in the comments if you want us to maybe jump into something even more, even on AI. I don't know. We've got a lot to learn. There's more.
And a lot more to it,
to discuss.
Yep.
So we'll see you next time on the Gospel Rain podcast.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Gospel Rain. Find us online at germantownbaptist.org/gospelrain for more information and a full list of our episodes. We hope you'll join us for another conversation next week on Gospel Rain.